So, snackablementalhealth.ca, one for the archives. I had a brilliant experience at the Imperial pub and library. We didn't go up to the library this time, but we stayed downstairs in its little back room for what turns out to be one of the last shows of any kind at the Imperial pub in downtown Toronto, 54 Dundas Street East, a couple blocks from Young Dundas Square, which I believe now called Sankova. I think that's correct. So yeah, the Brandon Hahn event with Stedman Party, my good friend, who did an incredible job, went off without a hitch on Saturday night, September 20th, at the soon-to-be closed down Imperial Pub, which has been part of the Toronto networking scene for about 80 years or more. I believe more than 80 years. And look what I got as a parting gift, some swag from the Imperial Pub manager. I got an Imperial Pub library t-shirt, an extra large. I'm usually a double XL, but this one is a generous extra large. So I got one of the last remaining t-shirts from the Imperial Pub donated to snackablementalhealth.ca, and the night was spectacular. And my wife did a fantastic job orchestrating the event. Danielle Marie Watkins Hahn, and I believe it's just Hahn now, which is awesome. But so thanks, Danny. And Stedman Party did an incredible job as well. So yeah, we were there from say 7 o'clock till about 10. And we started the show a little later because people were still showing up. So we started the show around 10 after 8, and we spoke, we laughed, we cried, we hurled, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, the Imperial pub is now being turned into condominiums. Very sad, but thankfully I was one of the last acts to play it. snackablementalhealth.ca.
Or an animal or a dandelion. Empathy is not relegated to just pain. It's a hug. It's reaching out for another. It also applies to the good things that happen to people. To beam for someone else's accomplishments, or to feel pride for someone in the way they work their process or path. So if you're feeling empathy, don't stop at grief, sorrow, or pain. Let their positivity and their good moments flow through you as well. There's a poem about empathy. The eyes are windows, the mouth a swinging door. Salty water flows when feeling floods the room. At brief electric moments, we are the hive. Consciousness doubled, pain and elation braided like rope. Winning feels like losing. Laughter tastes like tears from cheek to mouth. Empathy is a mine shaft, hammer striking stone day after day until your hands forget themselves. The blue sign glows hospital. The cancer ring is full, and no one even smokes anymore. You walk those halls and pulse, keeping time with beeping machines attached to strangers. To feel the good and the bad at exactly the same time, to sit between tired and awake, to split your ribs for both joy and grief. That's the tax of empathy. It buzzes like fever, an ache to close the fire. It offers what we've always wanted, an invisible thread, a connection across time zones, the proof that we belong. Yet still it feels foreign, a second language sung in slumber. At the crossroads of Yin Street and Yang Boulevard we meet, not as bands or nations, not as winners or sufferers, but as reflection, each one mirrored in another, and the cost to carry what is not owned, to hold the invisible, to grieve a stranger's mortality, and celebrate without a prize. The price of empathy is the self, surrendered in moments, given away in whispers, traded in silence so another soul does not stand alone. That's empathy. I'm going to bother you now with some more poetry, and then I've got a couple of similar readings from both Trigger Happy, here to promote snackablementalhealth.ca as well. It is my podcast. It's been out since September of last year. It's on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify. There's a Facebook group and an Instagram group as well called Snackable Mental Health. Before you leave, if you don't buy a book or a t-shirt, please take a sticker and a business card with you and or maybe a couple of them to spread around the city. I wouldn't mind seeing Snackable Mental Health stickers on mailboxes around the city. That would be pretty cool. Yeah, so Snackable Mental Health, as well as these two books, Trigger Happy 1 and 2, kind of a self-help book, a bit of pop psychology, yeah, so, and there's t-shirts available as well. And the woman behind the man is helping the man out, so that's my wife, Danny. One-winged angel flies in circles like she's drunk, knows what to do, just can't get there on time. She injured herself carrying too many good souls at once. Now she has but one wing and can only help the willing. Piercing water falls vertically, a melted lollipop with a wooden spoon burning from the treetops. As excess of elements breathe in the sickly sweet night air. A coax to tell the burden beast to life automobiles in the rain, leaving a dust shadow on the swept floor. Asking for something around 100 for contraband cigarettes. Consciousness. I'm no Eckhart Tolle, but waking up every single day is both scary and amazing at the same time. Being able to function every day is such a blessing. I hope immortality with freedom is not fictitious. My mind loves the planet and most everyone on it most of the time. These days, I am the wolf. Feed me a lot. These two, actually, that one I just read from was from one of my poetry chapbooks. There's been 4 poetry chapbooks, all out of print. They started well before these 2 books got written. And yeah, with my mental health talk tonight, a Snackable Mental Health moment would be that I'm bringing instead of a TED Talky mental health kind of thing, I'm going to bring more poetry, and that's what I wanted to do tonight, was accentuate my poetry as opposed to just talking about mental health conditions, because I think it'll hit home a little bit better. And I'm so pleased that we actually do have a crowd. We didn't think, Stedman and I didn't think there was going to be much of a crowd tonight at around 20 after 7. And bang, some people showed up, so that's awesome. So thank you guys for coming. Oh yeah, and this will be my first time at the Imperial Pub, and it is closing in November to make room for condos. So I can say that I'm here just before the place closed down at the legendary Imperial Pub with a handful of cool people too. So wicked. And keep in mind with snackablementalhealth.ca, there's lots of changes happening. The 3rd book is due out. I'm giving myself 3 more years to write the 3rd one, which will be Trigger Happy 3, Trust the Process. It's in the works right now. And this one's called The Love Marble. The first chapbook I read from was called Bleeding Heart Fist Fight. And on the cover is me punching myself in the face. This one's called The Love Marble, and the poem I wanted to read from it is called Sunday Veg. Stedman brought up the hair of the dog kind of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but when does hair of the dog turn into a bender? So I was just going to read Sunday Veg. Old modern movie. This is kind of a respect to my mother, who passed away 5.5 years ago, brain cancer. Old modern movies, boring last place football rivalries, introspective chats about nothing. Beer tastes fresh but stale. Coffee tastes lumpy even when perked to perfection. Analysis of daily living flatlines. Numbness of affection resulting in a delayed gratitude. Broken smiles wrinkle through. Pillow head stuck to crusty, leaky eye and mouth. Marshmallow teeth need a good brush and floss. Sunlight screams, bright light, bright light. Shower deifies the aura. The maid comes dressed as a garbage man. It's your mom. She smiles and says, "Did you feed your fish?" Okay, so we're gonna wrap up. As much as I don't want to, I could have brought more. Could have brought more. I've got two more things to read, and I can't thank you enough for showing up. We will try to find a venue where there's not so much of this traffic going on. Maybe we'll pick a place in Etobicoke, Mississauga, maybe go east a little bit where you guys can take the 407 and get to a place like Oshawa or whatever. I was thinking of doing my next treatment with a gentleman named Patrick Hay. I'm not sure if you've heard of Patrick, but he's a kind of a local Peel region basketball legend as well as an actor and comedian these days. I had the privilege of actually interviewing him for Snackable Mental Health about his grind and his rigors of being a 50-something comic working for Yuck Yucks, that kind of grind. I'm going to interview him again because I want to hear his story about it doesn't have to be a joke all the time where we actually our lives kind of intersected and I'm like, I gotta have this guy on the show. So that's Patrick Hay. He'll probably be the next one I work with as opposed to hopefully getting 70 guys. This one's called the Grief Monkey. I've been wrestling with the Grief Monkey for about 6.5 years now. The anticipatory grief of my mother's death and the all of a sudden death of my sister in July just after my beautiful wedding. So that's where I get this emotional burnout from. I had the best day of my life in July or June, and my sister passed away in July, 3 weeks later. Kind of suddenly, but not so suddenly. She's been in ill health for a while. So I'm going to read you the Grief Monkey, which is the 800-pound gorilla that lives in your closet and sometimes comes and sits on your chest when you're feeling at the worst. I've written before about the 800-pound gorilla that symbolizes depression. Lately, I've been coping with the Grief Monkey. He's extraordinarily agile, intelligent, emotional, and strong. The Grief Monkey never rests. He's quite a fighter. He battles everything. Sometimes he's on your side. Sometimes he turns on you. Sometimes he even takes human form, like when you look in the mirror while brushing your teeth. In my attempt at wholehearted living, I've embraced the fact that I have a grief monkey in my life now. He's like that traitorous monkey from Raiders of the Lost Ark. You think he's your little buddy, but in the end he turns on you. Then again, he also eats that poison gate, saving your butt by alerting you to danger. Maybe this grief monkey has been your ally all along. Maybe he's like a chaotic neutral Dungeons and Dragons character. In my grief, how I navigate the landscape of my emotions makes a difference. I'm in a phase of going through the motions, but I will make sure I chop wood and fetch water. I find myself smiling a lot at the weirdest things, like a silly memory of someone I used to be, or that time I put a red sock in with her whites. The grief monkey is now on my contact list. He gives advice and punishment. He sleeps hard on my chest and watches me shower. He's strange. He's infallible. He's curious as to how I behave when no one else is around. I'm holding the hand of my grief monkey right now as I write this. He's speaking in sign language and making fun of the fact that I smoke too much. He wants me to make a plantain sandwich. He wants me to work hard. He wants me to fight. He wants me to stick up for myself. Grief monkey gets in your gym bag when you want to get some exercise. Grief monkeys get in your head when you're nursing that hangover. A little reminder that you've had too much to drink or perhaps to smoke. Your grief monkey will eventually become your conscience. He'll be hard on you in every way, but in the end you should conclude that he's there for a good reason. So Danny and I gone. looked like the place looked like somebody had partied out here today. So I was like, as soon as I got in, I'm like, okay, so that's the price of free venue tonight. Is that we gotta clean up for last night? So anyway, they've been treating me like gold, so it's wonderful. Yeah, once again, very happy to have a cool crowd here at the Imperial home. And yeah, it's probably the last time we come. Most of us come. So yeah. And the library is where we used to go back in the day. So yeah, who knew? I feel like you want to stick around or want to do another one after this? Okay. Yeah, so I won't end with the grief on. This one's called Giving Depression a Face. The 800-pound silverback. I referred to this subject in my first book, Trigger Happy, but I feel it needs more attention. Depression is like wrestling an 800-pound silverback gorilla. I like to give the mess of depression a face. It's a gorilla that follows you around every day. For men and probably women too, wrestling the ape is the best way to describe it. He follows you everywhere, dragging his knuckles. Sometimes he throws you around like a sack of potatoes. Sometimes he waits for your next move and tries to stop you from achieving your successes at every turn. When you make some headway, he sits on your chest and tries to suffocate you. You go lie down in your room to get away from him, and he follows you and sits in a corner and waits, staring at the bed. The only way to really avoid him is to cope. Toward that, maybe try naming him, try taming him, try coaxing him into a game of horseshoes. The battle can last a very long time, but the battle is never permanent. Know this. Any kind of loss can give the gorilla strength. Any kind of noticeable weakness can make the gorilla arch an eyebrow. Using the gorilla as a metaphor is my best way to tell people about how it feels, so that you might recognize when you need a little help in hand. A positive thing you can get out of being in the ring with the gorilla is you aren't alone. Given the invisible qualities of serious depression, a face can make it easier to notice that you are actually coping. You may even be able to give your good times a face when your battle ceases. Like, say, a radiant unicorn cantering in a field, or simply a guy on a beach enjoying the sunshine with his own personal gorilla. When his own personal gorilla can't find a ticket to go wherever the hell he is. We all have different battles, but when they're familiar to us, we can fight them together. The other thing I wanted to say about my mom is she was really clever and funny. My mom never did anything criminal in her entire life. But when we were driving around and she saw a cop, she would go, "Oh shit, there's a cop," and slow down from the speed limit to 20 kilometers under the speed limit, just because she saw a cop. And I was like, Mom, I never said anything about it. I just always noticed that she was always paranoid of the police. And I have no idea why. She never gave anyone any reason that she was doing anything criminal. I'm going to read a couple more from The Love Marble and from, I wish there were more in circulation. So these are like, I don't know, what hockey player would I have? Definitely not Gretzky or Messi. I might be closer to maybe Boreas Salmon if you want his rookie card. I think that might be one of these would be a Boreas Salmon rookie card. Or maybe like, I don't know, Ron Bouguet or somebody like that. Remember those old school hockey players? So these are my rookie cards. Leading our fist fight. In essence, troubled minds make a great blend for a grand night out. It's not really fight words, not really cussing words either. Troubled minds give us an opportunity to notice people that are looking for a bad time. The police arrive and scout. The ambulance is on alert and the firemen sleep soundly. Criminal minds that are on something are unpredictable. They hunt for weakness in the good ones. They display a pufferfish chest. They drink to defeat their trouble and get in more. The good ones end up saying, business as usual, tomorrow. Funny, at this one I wrote like 6 poems about the Primrose Donkey Sanctuary where I met my wife. Funny how it's more stubborn than the donkeys. She picked me instead of any donkey that was there. And yeah, so then 16 years we got married. 16 years ago we got married. 16 years after we met. Peeking through cypress trees. This, and I got the guy here that was there with me, was a guy named Mark Robinson, and Miriam Saab, who inspired this poem. I'm very happy to read it for you. It's called Peeking Through Cypress Trees, and it's a homage to Steven Seagal. Here in Mark and I were in Staten Island staring at Steven Seagal's mansion. And there were no lights were on. We were looking through these cypress trees onto Steven Seagal's mansion. And it felt like the whole house was open, like but in darkness, and that somebody was just waiting for somebody. He probably was there. So he was probably just waiting for someone to break in. That's how I felt about that. Yeah. So it's called, this is Steven Seagal's house, peeking through cypress trees. Shadows in the darkness glow, private streetlights on the safe road, a house decorated with vigilance. No lamps, no cars, no pedestrians, no sidewalks, no address to know. A large abode in the still of the black and the gray, nestled behind a wrought iron fence, behind outstretched green and everlong. No sign, no spirit, only soul. As a youth, I peeked between a divide of the firm ranks, pious, stoic, forever silent yet alive. Quiet ghosts, guardians from the past, a warning to intruders in search of riches. An invitation for those needing a path to the secrecy of the way, waiting for the holder of the deed, when the neighborhood grows a little less than death. With excited hands I spread the tall, prickly foliage, with young eyes unthreatened. Myth became fact to get a dose of what true protection meant, uninvasive, unobtrusive, a witness to the estate that evolved itself over many years. Its occupation to protect a large borough of a lonely city. Doors, gates, and chimney flues wide open. Any effort to play a guard that identifies an area that is forever out of harm's way. Mental silence and a quiet, blind third eye. The unveiled gifts of a peak through cypress trees. There you go. Okay. Poetry and beer. I wouldn't say I'm in the program mood. I wouldn't say I'm in the program, but I'm kind of watching I had 2 beer at my wedding, 2 beer at my sister's celebration, and I didn't phone them, but I was tempted to get Heineken to send a 00 crowd here, or the 00 team here to give out free alcohol-free beers, and maybe I would get a couple of beers for them. I was going to call the 1-800 number and say, don't come to the So yeah, I don't really drink too much anymore. And I'm smoking a bit too much. So that is kind of a problem. I'm not drinking, but I'm smoking. Smoking will be my only vice. Poetry and beer. Makes sense. Takes sense. Reeks sense. Not as deep as Valentine's and prose. Still enough to offer some kind of musing. Still enough to pay the mental rent. To make it less heavy. Because a dude like me has to do it this way. Or else there's nothing left. An empty bottle, a blank page, and a hangover. We have this place all night, so should do something. More from Bleeding Heart Fist Fight, and I had to like, this actually looks like I got punched in the face by someone, but it was my fist. Oh, okay. Okay, so I have one I read at a Coburg event. And it was a joke about war-torn countries and how guilty first worlders we are now, and making me feel like we're still allowed to make jokes. And when I did this joke about this kid from a war-torn country, the guy that followed up after my joking poems had just gotten back from Israel right after all that nonsense. Simon, what day was he in Israel when that attack happened? But he spoke right after my jokey joke. And I was like, what the face? So, unintentional, but that was just fun. Okay, so this is called All Those Bleeding Hearts and Fist Fights, and it was written January 12, 2017. I signed up to sponsor a hungry child. Something like $1 a day to feed. I don't know that currency in food. And I don't know where it is on the map. Someplace like Sudan, that might be close to the idea of Togo land. After getting all the red tape out of the way, I went to a bar and got into a fist fight. A brawl in Donnybrook with someone unremarkably uncool. And I thought of little Mubarak Ali sitting there in Sudan, somewhere near Namibia or Togo land, as I slapped the man aside the head. I knocked him out cold and started kicking him with my boots. When he hit the ground, I thought about little Mubarak Ali and that I just paid for his breakfast and his time was over. Maybe Mubarak Ali was a war child and was eating his daily breakfast from a cold discarded bomb shell. I always thought medium-sized shell casings could serve as good bowls. Terrible. As a bar manager pulled me off the guy, picturing Mubarak's bomb casing bowl with mushy wheat breakfast made my heart feel a little warmer. I figured that in that same 24-hour period, I could feed the hungry and beat the snot out of the town villain, that God might vindicate me somehow. I was never really a violent guy, and I also never really thought too much about how effective charity is. But every now and then, though, you get a gut check and things roll out. Okay, so I've gone from my angry young man phase to a guy that cares more than you would not believe. And when did the angry young man phase end? I'm not sure. I think I might have one more poem in for you guys. So yeah, how many people did we get? And we had like one dude, he was too busy to get busy. We had another thing we went to do. So yeah, I don't know everybody here. That's right. Yeah, feel free to stick around. I'm gonna do one more poem. Bleeding Heart Fist Fight was the name of the poetry book, and it was about where I used to live. My mom always said, "You never lived there. What happened there was nonsense. It never happened in real life." I was living in this small town outside of Calgary, and a lot of shit went down, and I'm very lucky to have recovered with by the skin of my teeth. I could have very easily become a person on the street, unhoused, but through my miraculous cool friends and family, and finding Danny right after rehab. We always say that when I met her, that was my reward for doing a positive thing at rehab and turning myself around. And I very easily could have went the other way, and that's not happening. So when I see that, that was cool. This one's about a program that I isn't quite AA or NA or GA or SA or Readers Anonymous or whatever. It's called More Day Ones. Ace the test. That night that a friend coaxed you in with invisible six-pack. By invisible, the drink went down and you only noticed the empties. She burned him down, the torture of one life lived poorly, in the heart of a man who used too much of his mind. See a hospital during the holidays, see a nursing home during an outbreak, where the old and the new are suffering from things that only time decides. When death comes time, a companion. With death comes time, a companion, a friend that everyone must answer to. We danced more than a few times on those quiet sidewalks. We made a film once, starring nobody in particular wood, created in my mind that third eye that we always talk about. We ate hamburgers and ate french fries with cream and gravy. The movie was watched secretly by the entire world, and nobody really knows why. And it didn't really make it into our reality, where the money comes from. Cracked my last beer and threatened the dead with resurrection. Thanks so much for coming out, guys.